Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royale are both critically acclaimed games who've won multiple awards and have entered eternally into gaming culture, whether it was through its characters, memes, art, and in the case of this video, music. And in addition to things like its main protagonist being added to Smash Bros., it became relatively clear that this game series was here to stay in the public's mind. The first rendition of the game came out on September 15, 2016, and was immediately welcomed to major praise from many different outlets. And going in line with how the last two games were followed up with, we of course ended up getting the upgraded version 4 years later in October of 2019, which was once again met with similar praise. For this video, I wanted to cover what is probably my favorite aspect of the game, which is the music, and I know I'm not alone on that, judging how almost every music channel on YouTube has at least covered or at least referenced the Persona series at one point. And for this video in specific, we'll be looking at the song the player hears the most during their playthrough, Beneath the Mask. Now, while I won't be going in depth into the musical notes itself, as there are people much more qualified than I am to cover that, but I will be going more into the lyrical value and how it relates to the events we see occur in the game. Now, it should be noted, spoilers ahead, as I will be talking about the entirety of the game and may or may not refer to plot points or confidants to assist in helping my thesis. Now, with that out of the way, let's just get right into it. Now, while Beneath the Mask first debuts in the second gameplay section as you find your way to LeBlanc for the first time, it should be mentioned that the first time you hear the lyrical version in-game, at least in vanilla P5, is after beating Kamoshida and the official foundation of the Phantom Thieves. And it's here where the first verse of the song comes in.
Where have you been searching all along, kept facing twilight on and on, without a clue, without a sign, without grasping it. The real question to be asked, where have I been?
Now, catchy lyrics aside, what do they mean? In remembering what I mentioned earlier about when the song initially plays, the song comes from the perspective of Joker as he asks the question likely to Ann, Morgana, and Ryuji, or it could also be referencing Igor and the Velvet Room attendants, of where have you been? Now, while we don't know about how Joker's life was prior to the events of the game, what we can do, however, is use the lyrics to infer about Joker's thoughts and the past. The lyrics imply that Joker has simply been drifting in life, wishing for something bigger than himself to give him a purpose. So, when he sees a woman seemingly in danger, Joker is given that purpose, and he tries to do something about it, but he ends up paying the price for it as the person's affairs who he interfered with was Shido. Giving meaning to the lyric came facing Twilight on and on, as Twilight is the literal darkest phase of the transition of dusk and dawn, literally translating the lyric to encountering darkness on and on. After that, the rest of the lyrics of the song refer to Joker's rapid change in life and goes into a self-reflection, ending with the lyrics, the real question to be asked, where have I been? As Joker begins to not only question his life so far and what led up to it, but who he is as a person, which is something that we get expanded on in the main chorus.
I'm a shapeshifter at Ghost Masquerade, hiding both face and mind, all free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter, what else should I be? Please don't take off my mask, revealing dawn.
The lyrics of this chorus summarize Joker's internal struggle throughout the game as he realizes he isn't himself, he isn't an individual, he conforms to what society expects of him, and as a result, he hides his true self behind a self-imposed mask, both literally and figuratively, as we see Joker doesn't start wearing glasses until he has to go away to Shibuya, likely a result of him no longer wanting to draw attention to himself from his encounter with Shido. And beneath those glasses hides away a man, broken by society and lacking in trust of the systems put in place to assist.
Moments of calm, nothing left to be found. A mirror right in front of me, that's where I found an empty glass, reflecting that's a truth. It's telling words not to be told. I need them back.
What this verse basically does is repeat what I mentioned earlier, as it's Joker's internal struggle as he realizes that society will not see him as who he really is, and that they will only see the chains attached to him by that one incident. This conflict becomes even more apparent in the line "an empty glass reflecting the sad truth," showing as how he is hyper-aware of how society is going to view and judge him. And in the end, he decides to concede, and he equips the mask, or in this case, the glasses he wears. This desperation is shown even more heavily in the next chorus of the song at the end, "Please don't take off my mask, my place to hide." However, after that, the next verse shows a new revelation in Joker's mind, that maybe there's a way he can get out of this.
I can't tell you how to see me. Just a cage of bones. There's nothing inside. Will it always be burning down the walls? Is there a way for me to break?
In this verse, we see Joker starting to realize that there's a way to break free and change the hand he has been dealt in life, which is once again reinforced by when the song plays initially, as Joker sees the Phantom Thieves not only as a way to break free of the chains society has set on him, but also give him the purpose in life he has been searching all this time for. This idea becomes clearer as the game goes on, as we can see a noticeable difference from the personalities of Joker and Ren. Joker is a confident, cocky, sassy son of a bitch, while Ren is more soft-spoken, clumsy, and can even be shy at times. However, what we see take place over the course of the game is the fusion of the personalities, as we start to see him not only gain more confidence, not only through the gameplay, but actually in story of who he is through the Phantom Thieves. But not only that, but the Phantom Thieves allow him to express himself in a way that no one else has allowed him to in a while, which just shows the reverse of what the chorus has been presenting. For example, in the next line I'm about to say, "Please don't take off my mask, my disguise," it becomes clear. Ren has become the disguise, and Joker is who he is actually beneath that very mask. Now, normally this would be the end of the video, considering how I've run out of song to talk about. However, there's one specific line in the main chorus I intentionally neglected to mention, or even reference, when I was analyzing the chorus. That line being, "I'm a shapeshifter at Poe's Masquerade." The reason I held off about talking this one is the amount that I would be talking about it for would have completely derailed the script, considering how early on the chorus kicks in, and two, it makes for a nice little way to end off this analysis on. Now, this line has always piqued my interest ever since I loaded up the game when I first played it, and that's for a big reason. Now, for those of you who don't know, this lyric is actually referring to a poem by the famous poet Edgar Allan Poe, The Mask of the Red Death. Now, the basis of the story is that in the midst of a major pandemic, I realize the irony of that line, but getting back to the subject, all the nobles hide and party away inside the prince's castle. Their plan is to ride out the infection there and not let anyone in, basically leaving the poor and weak to die while the nobles go ahead and party away. Now, all of this is dandy until one day a masked figure shows up, and his presence alone is enough to disgust the prince to the point where he is demanding for the figure to die. Now, in attacking the figure, the prince perishes, and everyone else does eventually. Now, I'm simplifying the story down to a ridiculous degree, just cause if I really wanted to cover the whole story, that would take a whole 5 minutes on its own. And there's a ton more of it. I seriously do urge you to read the story, as it's one of, if not my favorite Edgar Allan Poe story, and I am no way doing justice to it right now. However, what the story tells us in relation to the game of Persona 5 is major. Now, if you avoided my spoiler warnings for whatever reason, get out now or be spoiled, as this involves the endgame of Persona 5 Vanilla. Right? Okay, well, here we go. Now, the allegory between this poem and Persona 5's endgame is insane, as you can easily see the allegory for the Prince's Castle and Shido's ship, along with the Prince and Shido, with the following lines. But Prince Prospero was happy, dauntless, and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his crenellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers, and welded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress or egress to the sudden impulses of despair or frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all of the appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons, there were improvisatores, there were ballet dancers, there were musicians, there was beauty, there was wine. All these and security were within. Without was the Red Death. This whole entire section I just quoted can easily be read as allegory for what the final palace in the game represents, as Shido and his allies make way for the ship that they will be safe and secure on, while the public outside of it will remain in total and utter chaos from the ramifications of Shido's presidency and the neglect he will bring upon the people. This relationship is even supported later on in the poem with the lines, "His plans were bold and fiery, and his conceptions glowed with barbaric luster. There are some who would have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to hear and see and touch him to be sure that he was not." These lines show and relates to how Shido and those interconnected to him do not see the ramifications, or rather, they do not care of the ramifications for his future actions, and even those who see Shido on TV and on the streets think in agreement with him throughout the game whenever they see or hear him. All of this is how the world worked, until the Phantom Thieves arrived. Now, tell me if all what I'm about to quote sounds a wee bit familiar. In an assembly of phantasms such as I've painted it, it may as well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited. But the figure in question had out Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's indefinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion, even with the utterly lost to whom life and death are equally jests. There are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company indeed seemed now to feel that in the costume and bearing of the stranger, neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, enshrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the visage was so made nearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny might have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet, all this may have been endured if not approved by the mad revelers around. But the murmur had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, his broad brow, with all the features of the face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of Prince Prospero fell upon this spectral image, with which a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro among the waltzers. He was seen to be convulsed in the first moment with a strong shudder, either of terror or distaste, but in the next his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares?" he demanded hoarsely of the courtiers who stood near him. "Who dares insults us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements!" And while not exactly one for one, the comparison is still there, as we can see what I just read off can easily be seen as a comparison between Shido's palace and the final encounter leading up to the final boss fight with Shido. It's pretty amazing considering how we're getting all of this just for one lyric with the song, and there's more! The allegories go even further when you consider what each of the rooms mentioned in the poem stand for. To clarify, since I didn't mention it in the summary of the poem, there are 7 rooms in which the party takes place in. Now, there's no official way to tell what Poe meant by each of the 7 rooms, but there is a main theory amongst most scholars at the moment what they represent, and that's the stages of growth. And guess how many palaces there are in Persona 5 before the Mementos Palace? That's right, there's 7. And even the last palace can be explained away in the story, possibly with the final words of the poem, with them going, "And now was acknowledged by the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in their blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died in each of the despairing posture of his fall, and the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired. Darkness and decay and the Red Death held immutable domain over all." This line, in the context of everything, completely foreshadows the true evil of the game that appears upon completing the final palace, hinting that though the corrupt adults who spoiled the world have been dealt with, there still remains an evil in the world. That evil being the hidden darkness of the Velvet Room. That evil being Yalbalathoth. And it all makes sense even more when you consider that the Red Death so far has been represented by Joker in the story, and the fact that he alongside Yalbalathoth are the only ones with the power left in this situation puts it even to more perspective, because it's shown in the story itself that Yalbalathoth feared the power that Joker contained, and that he knew that Joker was possibly the only other person who would be able to beat and stop his plans in place. So, once again, while the story may not be exactly one for one with the story of Persona 5, I think it still stands. The song alone is fine. I mentioned every single reason why the song is so great, even on a literary level, as we get to really see inside the head of Joker. And even if we count the little theory I made up from the one line, it still can be made as a decent allegory. I mean, think of all the things I just was able to explain in correspondence with the Persona 5 story. Now, once again, whether or not it was intentional or not, and I may be stretching a bit too far here, but I could be wrong. I'm not afraid to admit that. And you know what? This is just a fun little theory that I came up with upon reading into the song a bit too much. And it's through this video I earned possibly a new respect for Beneath the Mask, as you can even go as far as to predict the ending of the game with it. And all of it within one catchy song that I guarantee you that a few people here didn't actually know the lyrics to. And to me, that's really awesome, because it kind of reminds me of English class, I guess to say. That would be the best example of it. All those memes about the English teachers going way into depth about things, I get the feeling that was probably me today in this video. But once again, I think regardless of any allegories that I've made, the song is still fantastic. The original meaning of the song being that it's a perspective of Joker's view throughout the game, it's still amazing, it still holds up its own merit. And I think it's at this point where I'd like to end the video off, finally, to let you guys go after 16 minutes. I didn't expect the video to be this long, but you know what? I think this is a good point to end it off on. So if you guys liked, commented, and subscribed, go ahead and do all that, and who knows, maybe I'll make another one if I get enough of those. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, post-editing Sonic here. I just finished wrapping up editing the video, and this is basically, at this point, it's tradition in these big essay videos that I do to have this little ramble at the end here. But I basically just wanted to thank you guys for putting up with the theory and all that jazz. I'm not sure how successful this video is going to be compared to the Sonic retrospective. I assume since it's shorter, it's possibly going to be a bit more popular, I guess I would say, since more people are more likely to sit down and watch for this long. But I just wanted to really thank you guys, and at the same time, I also wanted to apologize because I do personally recognize this isn't the best effort that I could have put into it, mainly because Persona 5 is just such a gigantic game. Like, all the footage I had to gather was a pain in the ass, not only for me, but for my PC as well, because I had to go through and delete a few things. But yeah, that was mainly what I wanted to do. I wanted to thank you guys and to apologize, because like I said, I honestly didn't put my best foot forward here. For sure, this is probably a video that I'll revisit in the future, but I do have a schedule to keep up with in terms of videos, because I still need to finish the Sonic CD upload, and I somehow need to do that before the middle of October, so that's that's gonna be fun. But yeah, once again, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you'll stick around for the next video, which is the Sonic CD retrospective. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.